Last but not least, we have Ambrose Weda, who is a lawyer. Thank you for joining us this morning. We also have Michelle Ngele on standby, who's going to be sampling some of your comments. Keep them coming. Remember, you can participate in this conversation. We'll be opening up the phone lines as we carry on with the conversation, but you can also do that via Twitter. The Twitter handle is at KTN News. You can also tweet me or Michelle directly, and that's at Michelle Ngele or at Michael G. Gitonga. Gentlemen, let's start first of all, of course. It was very sad, of course, to receive the news of Boy Juma's death, and quite sudden. And maybe before I give you an opportunity to pay your tributes and to have your comments on that, let's just have some of what he had to say. Of course, he's one who's going to be remembered for many reasons, including his oratory and oratory skills and his command of the Swahili language.
Alipofika juu nyani yuatizama, ankatika damu ya tona to. Simba mfungua mdomo airamba ile ndani ya mdomo wa nyani. Asema tamu. Nyani alipotizama chini amuona simba yuameza ile damu yake.
All right, so I'll start with you, Ambrose Weda. Maybe just give you an opportunity to pay tributes to Boy Juma.
I think we pay a glory tribute to him. It's a loss to our country. In the Senate, I think he's the third senator in 5 years that we have lost, and they are fairly few, so it's tragic, especially the death, which is sudden. I pass my condolences to the people of Kwale County. I trust that you will go through this, and the family, you'll take this. As a Christian, I will tell you that one of the promises that God gave us is that you will die. So death is one of the things that God has put in place for each one of us. We accept it as and when it comes. And as he goes, I think I would remind those of us who are still alive that when you breathe your last, what will be the legacy, what will be the profit you are leaving for us? That we can say so-and-so lived and they left for us this. Boy Juma Boy has gone, Wangari Maathai has gone, Mandela went. So we urge you who are still alive, please make a legacy that you bequeath to us.
All right. Simbarati, your comments, maybe your tributes.
We send our condolences to the people of Kware as well, to the family, especially especially for the whole team of party, ODM. Of course, we have lost a great man, one of the pillars from the coast. And indeed, as Wakil has said, is that this is the journey that we are in, all of us. Therefore, let God strengthen the family at this difficult time, as well as the people of Kware. We condone with them. And for the people of Kware, of course, we are saying we have lost a great leader.
All right. Irungo Kangata.
Personally, I began having an interest in politics when I was quite a very young person. In fact, I was quite a young boy, and Juma Boy Juma was amongst the names that I used to identify myself with. I found it quite a good name in terms of the way you pronounce it. In fact, we do have a person who has been with us in our garage called Juma, and I used to call him Juma Boy Juma, based on the fact that I was always connecting him with a senior politician called Juma Boy Juma. So therefore, I'm trying to bring this issue that he is a person who has been in politics for a very long time. That is a very good thing. It's something that is quite exceptional, because it's usually very hard for politicians to be in circulation for more than 5 years, by the way. So when you have a person who has been in circulation in politics for over about 20 years, and then he transits into senatorhood, to me that shows in an exceptional person. Such people, because I know them in parliament, they tend to have very good interpersonal skills, and I have no doubt in my mind the best or his most important strength, Juma Boy Juma, was having very good interpersonal skills. And therefore, I send this on behalf of the people of Kiharu and the people who have always known Juma Boy Juma since they are very little children. We send our condolences to the family. We have lost a great leader.
All right, thank you. Now we move on to other matters, and of course, today being the 13th, we know that tomorrow is the last day for the mass voter registration exercise. We have had several people from some quarters saying that it needs to be extended. Maybe Kenyans need to be given more time. Evidently, IEBC they are well below target. They had targeted about 6 million Kenyans who have IDs and are not registered. So far, we're looking at about a maximum of 2.2 that have been registered, well below. I'll get your comments as to whether you feel that maybe an extension is necessary, starting with Simba Arati. But let's first of all hear what some of our leaders have had to say during this voter registration exercise, which our politicians seem to have taken very seriously on their campaign trail.
Mukubali mujiandikishe kwa wingi na ndio muweze kuwa na viongozi ambao watatetea haki zenu.
Watu wa Nairobi, kama unapenda Jubilee, kama unapenda Uhuru Kenyatta, mapenzi yako ni bure kama huna kura. Ama namna gani jameni?
Sisi nami inakuja. Inakuja. Hii timu ambayo tunaunda haiwezi kushindwa. Mimi ningependa kuambia Ruto na Uhuru wajitayarishe. Wakati yao ya kwenda nyumbani ni sasa.
Nimesema na nataka kurudia mbele yenu. Ubinafsi unaweza kutuharibu. Kwa hivyo, wale ambao ni wafuasi wetu, nimesema na nitarudia. Ndugu yetu Raila akipata, Weta atakuwa amepata. Kalonzo akipata, Weta atakuwa amepata. Musalia akipata, Weta atakuwa amepata. Na Weta akipata, Weta atafurahi zaidi.
Na hivi vyama vyote vimeingia NASA, ndio sasa tupeleke Jubilee nyumbani. Jubilee itaenda na itazidi kuangalia ikiwa hamtachukua kura na hamtapiga hiyo kura. Na safari hii namwambia ndugu yangu Raila akae kando, anifuate hapa, tupeleke Jubilee nyumbani. Unaye wangapi wanakubaliana na mimi kwa hiyo?
All right, so back to the panel. Simba Arati, do you feel that possibly more time is required for voters to register? Or are the voters sending a message to politicians that we really are not interested?
We need more time, though, you know, we have also no time for preparing for the general election. But then what I saw yesterday, especially in my constituency, given it was the last weekend, there were so many people. IEBC did a lot of work up to late, actually up to around 7:30, as long as there was light for them to take the photos. What happens is that there is a tendency in the country where people, the last minute, people expect to accomplish everything at the last minute. Of course, what we have seen is that there are so many people who want to register, but another thing, there is the issues of IDs. Up to yesterday, there were a number of IDs which were held in the registrar person's office. In my constituency, I know for a fact that there were IDs which were held at the DC's office, whereas information we are getting, they were giving them out as, you know, to different regions. No,
but if the IDs are ready, really, it's upon the people to come and collect. And again,
but
if we look at the figures that IEBC was targeting, it's 6 million people whose IDs have already been issued but have not been collected or have not registered.
I'll tell you, in my constituency, there is a problem. And this problem is from the administration itself. If you go there, you'll go with your waiting card, you'll get that, yes, we were demanding for the list which had come from the registrar of persons head office. These guys, they're not giving out. But when you go back to the registrar of persons, we have given back those IDs which have already been registered. Therefore, there is a problem. So many people are coming up. The president the other day, he was saying that people can go ahead.
Get the IDs in 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days, which is not the case. It has not happened in Nairobi. Therefore, we are saying is that there is the new people who have the waiting cards is a big problem. They walk into the registration center, they are turned away. It's a cry all over. But we are saying that it's necessary, if indeed they were serious for these people who have not registered, for them to register.
So for you think time would be something that can add value to the number of voters that we have registered so far?
But also, you see, it will mean that they'll wait also for the last 2 days for them to rush into the polling stations.
Which is something that I think as Calvin we ought to discourage.
Yeah, that's happening. But then let us see what is the turnout by tomorrow. How people they are going to behave today. Of course, yesterday I know it was a beehive of everything around the country. We expected for the 2 days, people will do a good job.
All right.
Yeah.
Irungu Kangata, Member of Parliament for Kiharu, how is your region doing in terms of voter registration?
In comparative terms, we are doing good, but in respect to the target that was set by IEBC, we are not doing good. So therefore, I would urge the people of Kiharu and Murang'a in general to take this opportunity to register themselves as voters. However, I have to put the nation's attention to the law. If I'm not wrong, to the best of my knowledge, the law provides that registration of voters will continue up and until about, is it 90 days to the elections? And therefore, I would imagine IEBC, when it says that it's going to close this exercise, it is closing what we call mass registration, but not individualized registration. So therefore, if at all that is the position, which probably I would ask IEBC to clarify, in any event, it is the position anchored in the law. I would urge those Kenyans who are unable to register by 14th of February 2017 to still go to various IEBC offices and register themselves as voters.
All right. Whether do you think that an extension possibly would be something that would help have more people register?
No, when on this same bench, remember I said that they'll register between 3 and 4 million. Those millions they're talking about are neither here nor there. And you can see we are going there. The only basis upon which you'd extend the registration deadline is if there were lines and lines of people and some people have been left off. But if you want to extend because you think somebody is still cooking chips in his house and he may come if you extend the day, that is not good for planning a serious election like this. The mass voter registration should come to an end, and then the continuous one in isolated places will continue. But I would also urge leaders like my brother Arati here. This thing of looking for an excuse to blame people, blame administration. The president goes there, finds that there's a problem with ID cards. He orders that we get it 3 days. Instead of Mheshimiwa going to get the IDs, you are saying some regions are getting, some other regions. The president says we can use the waiting card to register. Instead of adding the voice to that, to force the IEBC to accept, you people are just quiet and blaming the president. So part of the low numbers has been the team that keeps on telling their supporters, oh, they will be rigging. They have already rigged these elections. They have taken. In fact, Jubilee have rigged. So when you see it, I was in the village on Saturday, and some people were asking me, Mr. Weda, is it true that your Jubilee team have already rigged? And you tell them, what do you expect then? If your leaders tell you what you confess, you receive. So some people are already disillusioned. So change your language and tell people, come out if you love Raila, register. If you love Uhuru, register. Then we meet at the ballot. But giving up and already saying, oh, we have already lost this because Jubilee has done this, has also contributed negatively to the negative numbers that we are seeing.
Simbarati, your comments on the fact that IEBC has been attacked left, right, and center. Initially, we started with the Isaac Hassan-led team, who are literally hounded out of office. Now we have a new team, but there still seems to be a lot of mistrust, and maybe that could be the reason why voters feel there is no point.
What Wakil is saying, I want to just reiterate and say that we can't stop saying that Jubilee is planning to rig elections.
Do you have evidence that they're planning
yes,
to rig?
there has been evidence.
What evidence is
there? There have been evidence. You see even the BVR machine which was stolen in
Alleged.
Yeah.
Oh, in Garissa by...
it was found in Slee when Raila came up and said, yes, we know it's Jubilee, which picked that machine. And it has come really to be proved that these are the agents of Jubilee who got the machine and they were doing the businesses here. But then, that one aside...
But that has not been proved.
No.
I think it's good to have things clear. Has it been proved that it's Jubilee agents that were doing
Of course, who else owns the apparatus of the system?
But that does not mean it cannot be stolen. A thief is a thief.
No, they were saying it's Al-Shabaab, and we were dismissing this business of Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab, they have no business with the BFRK. They are not going to register people in Somalia because they are based in Somalia. Therefore, what we are saying is that the allegation that we have been having actually against the IEBC, of course the IEBC, we want to give the current IEBC easy time. We give them benefit of the doubt for them to carry out an exercise which every Kenyan will expect. Of course, another thing, we are not busy talking about that Jubilee is stealing, but then we are prepared that if they steal, they look for another place to stay, not in Kenya. That's our position. That if they are going to steal,
almost like a threat.
No, there is no threat. But then if they steal, what else do we expect? These are people who don't have the country.
Shouldn't we then be concentrating in putting systems in place that ensure that that does not happen, rather than beating on the head the same system that we expect to deliver credible results? Because if we keep saying this about this particular IEBC, who have been put there constitutionally, then we are, you know, negatively affecting how they're going to deliver.
We expect that every person will respect the law. Me, Arati, Raila, Uhuru, Ruto, every person has to respect the existing offices, especially the constitutional office which have been formed. But when you get that the same, actually there is one thing, is the culture, our culture as Kenyans, with bad manners, that people have been given a mandate, including us, our members of parliament. We are not ready to put a system in place to make sure institutions operate. And that's been a big problem with every person. But then we have a responsibility. I can tell you, like today and tomorrow, I know there is a good team of the gated registration in terms of immigration. They are doing a 20 to see the exercise it's smooth and running.
Okay. Yeah, go on.
I think there is one thing which is very sad. And there are two. One is the warmongering coming from court. I've now heard it from MP Arati. On Saturday, I was at a funeral in my village, attended by Honorable Raila Odinga. He spoke very well. But there were two MPs he called. In the middle of his speech, he called them. And their speech was specifically warmongering. How there is going to be rigging and how they are going to fight people. Now you have repeated it here that some people will go away. If you have sensed defeat, as is obviously coming, because the numbers already show that there will be defeat for court, why are you threatening people? Please stop it. If you lose, you lose. If you win, you win. Don't stop this warmongering you called people. That is the part I want you to get very clear.
Yes, Simbarati, before I come to Irungu Kangata.
You see, there is nothing like we're talking of war. And another thing is that we want to put it clear. If people, they're intending to steal election, because they know, this is not the first time they're stealing this election. They stole it last time. Of course, we kept and we said the country is big than Raila. This time we are saying, this time that if you steal, there is no business of saying that the country is bigger than an individual. You meet the consequences of stealing the elections. We must be able to make sure that elections is a part of our culture, that we practice with manners, even for the young generation which is coming up.
Okay. Irungu Kangata, part of having a credible democratic process is trust with the system. Evidently, there's a lot of mistrust from different quarters of the system. Is Jubilee doing anything to assure the country that they are willing and the political goodwill is there for there to be credible elections?
Yes, indeed. And I think there is no better way of showing trust apart from noting the fact that Jubilee has conceded to the key demands that were being made by our counterparts in the opposition. There was an agitation for the removal of IEBC commissioners, and there were demonstrations all over. And it appears that the government finally acceded to those demands. The former IEBC commissioners were vacated. And then there was this process of appointing new IEBC commissioners. When those names were brought before the floor of the House, they were passed in a consensus manner. The opposition agreed to those names. In fact, if you can recall, the chairman of the new IBC even confessed before our committee, which I sit, that is the Justice and Legal Committee of the National Assembly, that he was a former member of the ODM. So strictly speaking, or even one can assume IBC is now being headed by a person who, prior to his joining that institution, was leaning to their side. Also take into account the legal reforms which underpin these coming elections, or reforms which are agreed in a consensus manner. So the point is, I do not think Jubilee can do any other thing to show trust, apart from showing historical development of this election, vindicate our position that we have acceded to all the demands that have been done by them. But it's very clear that they are sensing defeat. And because, by the way, never look at IBC numbers in isolation to other verifiable data that exist in our country. And why do I say so? I say so because you have to look at the numbers which are appearing in census. You have to look at those numbers and see whether they correlate with the numbers which are captured by the IBC data. For instance, according to the census report, how many adults are there in our country? To the best of my knowledge, it appears the ratio between children and adults is about 1:1. So out of about a 40 million population, we have an adult population of about 20 million. How many people are registered voters? I think based on the last time report of IBC, we had about 14 million. So I think IBC, when it was talking about 6 million, the idea was that all adults register. And I think that has never happened in this country. You'll find there are people who consciously are not interested in participating in politics, and therefore you cannot really force them. So therefore, if they are able to hit a target of about 16 million out of a potential voting block of 20 million, to me, that is fair enough.
It's fair enough. All right, and before we move away from IEBC, and this is to you, Ambrose Weda, yes, in terms of credibility and accountability, there just seems to be so many loopholes, and I don't know what you say in defense, but we have an incident that took place in Isli, where apparently some BVR kits were found, but according to Ezra Chiloba, he says that no BVR kits were found, but this doesn't help in building confidence in the voters. And maybe we can just have that playback so that we are aware of what we're talking about. And this was an incident that took place in Isli.
And during this arrest, the following items were recovered: a photocopying and printing machine, a colored cartridge, several voter transfer forms, 33 of them duly filled, and 83 copies of national identification cards, and 1 original acknowledgement slip, 1 ledger black book.
All right, Ambrose Weda, we have residents of Isli saying that BVR kits were found. There were some registration forms that were found, ID, copies, and all that. Then Ezra Chiloba coming out and saying none of that was found. This doesn't help.
I think let's get it this way. You must appreciate, and allow me to quote the Bible, Genesis 6:6. God himself, who created you and me, regretted and was aggrieved that he created the human being whose heart is inclined to wickedness at every corner. IEBC is independent, there is government, there is opposition. Then there are candidates who are doing a abracadabra to win. They will do everything, including Arati here, to make allegations and transfer voters and bring in his kinsmen. So those problems have been with us over the years. Over the years. And to attribute such issues to Jubilee, that is where they're getting it wrong. It could be the candidates, it could be a weakness in the IEBC, it could be CORD, it could be anybody. So that we look at the loopholes and then we provide the solutions. But CORD has chosen the propaganda machinery. They are always in propaganda. Anything wrong, if something is stolen in the office, the papers are missing in IB offices, this is a Jubilee. If somebody slips and falls in IB offices, this is Jubilee. Let them stop the propaganda. Help the IEBC to organize their house so that they can give us a credible election without apportioning blames to Jubilee. I know there are challenges. This is a huge election. There are challenges because we are dealing with many candidates who are inclined to win through crook and cranny. Every candidate, Raila will try to win through crook and cranny and a lot of propaganda. President Uhuru will try to get his re-election through all means. Arati here will want to go back by all means. So all these are being handled by new commissioners, who has baby commissioners who have hardly sat on their seats. And Chiloba there was also new. So this confounds the issues. So help, go and tell your principals in court, reduce propaganda, and then let us help so that the country has a credible election. You have seen the president, he goes there, he goes out to find, to ask for voters to register. He finds that there's a problem of IDs. He makes an executive order. Let us do it this way. He goes another place, he finds there are many people with waiting cards. He says, give them. But the opposition, oh, are they planning something? Is there a trick that Uhuru is doing? Blah, blah. Reduce the propaganda.
All right, and I'd like to bring in Michelle Ngele now to just sample some of the comments that we have before we move on to another subject on the way it is. And remember, your comments should be coming in, Michelle.
Asking is, do you think that the voter registration exercise should be extended? Do you think the voter registration exercise should be extended? And so far, 67% say yes, 33% say no, and luckily today nobody said I don't care, and that's
at least they care enough to
say
yes. They
care enough to say yes or no. And so Osiamo Nyasinga says even if they extend, there's so many indications of mistrust and a discredited outcome. And, you know, that's what you were talking about earlier. There's too much mistrust going on. We have the likes of Nyakush. Nyakush says, Simba Arati, your sentiments are a threat to this country. And then, of course, Reverend Kosgei saying, no, 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 IEBC is behind schedule as it is. And, of course, Michael, we also have some questions coming in. We have Carol here who is asking, the apathy witnessed during registration is already a strong indication that there will be apathy during the voting process. And so probably project this question to our panelists. Are there any plans to mitigate this apathy during the voting process?
All right, and before we come to that question, we have a caller, Limo, calling from Baringo. Good morning, Limo, and thank you for calling to your comment or your question. Yes, Limo.
Hi, okay, good morning again.
Morning.
Long time. The last time I saw you was some few last year in a function. But anyway, let me go to my comments. I want to target to Mr. Arati, Mheshimiwa Arati. The comments of Mr. Arati is not very good because it's unacceptable the way he talks like that, threatening by saying that if a court cannot win, Jubilee will be hunted out of office. It's unacceptable because they are the ones who are making their base not register because of such comments. Because at the end of the day, election will be done. The winner will come. And Arati, let me tell you, Mheshimiwa, it's unacceptable your tone because I think you are talking like that because you want to be elected again to be an MP, to look like you're a soldier, full soldier of your party leader. But it's unacceptable when you threaten Kenyans like that. Election will come, election will go. You must remember that there will be a winner and there will be a loser. And I hope even you, when you lose, you cannot hunt your friend out of office. I hope if you lose, by example, in case if you lose, I want to see you go to hunt him out of parliament. Because it's unacceptable when you talk like that. Kenya must move forward. We should accept that somebody wins. Even Uhuru has put in record that if he loses, he goes home. I mean, Ambrose Weda right now made a comment that when he was in the rural area, people have low apathy because of such sentiments you are saying.
All right.
You know?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Limo. And, well, a question, of course, directed to you, Simba Arati. Maybe your comments to that.
I just want to put it clear that I've not said that when we're going to lose, we're not going to accept. The only thing we're warning, if the elections they are going to steal, we have no business entertaining anybody who is a thief. And if it's a threat, it has to be to those
Is there a different way we can have that conversation as opposed to always talking about stealing? Because that it is clear, yes, that if the votes are stolen or there is discrepancy, then of course, people should face the full force of the law.
Yeah.
True. But is there a different way of also having that conversation in that voters go out there, vote your people in, let's ensure that we have a credible election?
I can vehemently say that the people, they have always come out to vote, and they have voted. Of course, we have seen a number of times election stolen. And we are saying that this one should not repeat. Of course, we are not going to accept. We did not accept last time, and we gave it a go on. But what you're saying is that we are not going to accept any theft, and thinking that somebody will manipulate numbers around, and we leave it to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
On that same note, just before Arati continues, let's just address that question that was being asked here by Carol, because you say people always come out to vote. But previously, people have also always come out to register as voters, and the level of apathy has not been as high as it is. And so the question is, this same apathy is likely to play out during the voting process. People might not come out to vote. Are there any means that have been put out to mitigate the situation?
There's something Wakili said, and to some extent I want to agree with him, that you know, when there is this fear of also that the election is going to be rigged, somebody says, why should I go to vote if the election is to be stolen? And that's what we want actually to get out from our people. Yes. And that's why we are saying anybody who has any thinking of stealing election should stop.
But that narrative keeps being driven time and again, that if they're stealing, can't we change that into something else?
You know, the system, who runs the apparatus of the system? Actually, my brother here said clearly that we have those institutions, the executive, parliament, judiciary. But when you get that executive goes into interfering with institutions, independent institutions, you were saying that when you had to put a lot of pressure around, the government accepted, you know, the system, the president accepted. It's not about the president accepting. It's that it's an institution where we believe people didn't have credit to run that institution. We were saying them to leave office. Therefore, it should have not been seen that is the president. Though the president is the one who was running around with tankers here, pouring water on us, tear gas.
The president did that?
Of course, through
I think let's have this.
Who is in Kayseri?
Let's have this propaganda come to an end, because it's scaring people from registering and it's scaring them from preparing to vote. When Jubilee came to power and defeated this team hands down, Raila was prime minister, Kalonzo was vice president, Mudavadi was deputy prime minister, Wetangula was minister for foreign affairs. They were all they were government itself. Honorable Ruto and Honorable Uhuru were actually suspects in court, shuttling between here and Hague. Okay? And they came, so they had the apparatus and the propaganda. But they came and swept them. Let me tell you, what you give is what you get. Give and it shall be given to you. You give out propaganda, you get propaganda votes.
All right.
So please, tell the people to come out, to register, and be ready. Otherwise, concede defeat now so that we don't have to waste money for elections.
All right, let's move on to something else because of time. And let me move on now to the doctor strike. And today happens to be D-Day, where they had been given 7 days. We do know that Atwoli came out and requested to be enjoined in that particular case, which was granted, and he was given 7 days. Let's first of all listen into what has happened so far, today being D-Day.
Jana juzi nilikaa mpaka usiku, saa 6 ya usiku, na madaktari kwa ofisi yangu. Nikawambia muende msign a return to work formula ili tuendelee kujadiliana CBA kama mko kazini. Watu wanakufa. Hiyo hata kusikia. Na nikawambia kama iko dispute mniwaachie. I will go to court and ask the judge to give us an order to compel the government to sit with you on the table while your colleagues are working. They don't want to hear that. Now that is not how we conduct industrial relations business. That is contrary.
All right, and I'll start with you, Rongo Kangata. The president is the CEO, as it were, of the country. And when there is a crisis like this, we expect some leadership. We need something said that will resolve. This has been going on now. We're on day 71. Kenyans are dying.
Well,
can the government admit that maybe in this particular area it has completely failed?
No. Surely. First, look at Atwoli. We all know Atwoli does not support the government. He is behind Musalia's candidacy. And you can hear his sentiments, what he is saying. He is saying very clearly that the people who are to blame are the union officials. By the way, I hadn't seen that clip. I would have expected he will be bombarding the government. But you have heard what you have said. He is criticizing the union officials. There was a poll that was conducted the other day, clearly showing a vast majority of Kenyans are not happy with what is happening with the union officials. Yeah? To them, Kenyans feel that the doctor surely at this point would have gone back. As to the presidency, you are aware there was an intervention by the president. And the president tried to intervene. They rebuffed his endeavors.
So can you accept that in this case,
Dr. Nyikal. Dr. Nyikal is my personal friend. He is an opposition member of parliament and a former senior official in the Ministry of Health. He himself, he told me in private his effort to intervene in this strike, and he was again rebuffed. To me, there's no doubt about it that union officials are mishandling this thing, and I think it's so unfortunate. And I have no doubt it has something to do with inexperience on their part. You see, in negotiations, you have to be tactical. You usually have this notion where when an offer is made, you can either take it and then probably push for incremental government acceding to your request over a period of time. But this idea of insisting on a certain position with the region in mind, in my own opinion, is bad. And I have no doubt what Mr. Atoli is saying shows something is bad on the part of the
So what do you think is the way forward? What should be the way forward? The doctors should just accept to come back to work, and hopefully their CBA is negotiated as we go along, which of course has been pending for a while.
Yes, surely we are talking of what we call an essential service. In other more developed societies, in essential service, people don't pull out the manpower 100%.
But sometimes they pull out because there just seems to be nobody hearing what they have to say.
I'm telling you, in other democracies, when it comes to medical services, they rarely pull out 100%. Okay. You cannot let people to die. We're talking about life and death. People are dying, surely.
All right,
people are dying. I can see, like now, when you look at my phone, you'll see so many messages of people who are caught up in private hospitals.
And that right there, Bwana Irungu Kangata, is an indication of a failed system. Because why are they even contacting you when they're in private hospitals? There should be public hospitals that they can go to. Yes, and as a member of parliament, you should even be able to tell them, look, I am not here to take you to hospital, go to the public hospital.
Well, I can't say that. That's being callous in politics. But the point is...
No, my point is that the system has failed.
But to me, on this one, I have no doubt to say I'm blaming the union officials. They are
there is no way we can blame the union. And though it's sad that we have lost lives, people have gone ahead, sold their properties all over to take their beloved ones to hospitals.
Let me just cut you short and take a call from Matigani before we lose that call so that we can have that participation. Matigani, good morning.
Morning to you, Mr. Gitonga.
Yes, go right ahead.
I have one question for Honorable Arati.
Okay.
And I'm very sorry I'm getting you back because I could not get the studio.
Okay.
So I was still holding on.
All right, just go right to the question.
Yes, my question is, in 2007, I voted in Western, and I became an IDP. And the talk by that time was the same talk that Honorable Arati is putting across. So my question is Honorable Arati, is it that they have a sinister motive that we know, that we doesn't know as Kenyans, to put the country to the dogs? Because if they are saying they will not accept win for Jubilee, and they will still hang on that the elections have been stolen, and they will not pursue the legal way. Then they are telling us the honorable minister, the honorable MP, should in fact even record a statement with the CID, because these are the guys who will put this country to the dog.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Matigani. We'll come to that question. I need you, first of all, to just go back to, I'll come to that question, but regarding now the doctor strike, you are saying that we cannot blame the union.
We can't blame the union. The system, they're down. the government is, the other day we saw the president and deputy, they did the procurement through their system, of course, not the president directly, to buy machines for all hospitals around, the referral hospitals. And they forced those machines to be taken down there. Therefore, it is a responsibility of the president to have intervened in this case of the doctors. Which he tried to. Yes, which he tried to, but what do you expect if the president, then you are defeated to really, to mitigate properly on a process where people, they are losing their lives, people, they are losing, live about even lives. People, they are selling everything they have to take their beloved ones.
All right, so NASA is government in waiting. What solution would you have?
Definitely, these people, they have to sit down with the, with the union officials.
Which they have done.
And I believe there will be a better, offer from the government of NASA other than the Jubilee one. Because the Jubilee has refused completely to give a better offer to the doctors. But then, it's unfortunate. I want to agree with my brother here that, live, especially the essential services, like the ones of hospitaling, it's important for us to be able to look into it for all partners, to feel for those ones. If you walk around and you find that people that are not treated in Kenyatta, those ones who don't have money, and the money because of the economy is poor, what do you expect? Nobody knows that, yes, the services were devolved, but the government has been interfering with even the devolved, even those monies that were supposed to be sent to the counties, they've been held up here. Therefore, squarely, the blame goes to the president and his system hall.
Okay. Although you've not given us a solution, per se, I'll come to you. Let me first of all finish with Matigani on his question. Is there something that maybe we are not aware about? Because there seems to be...
Matigani is...
Can I comment before he says something? This guy should be arrested. I strongly believe this guy
arresting is not an issue.
No, I can tell you why.
Why should he be arrested?
No, this guy should be arrested because of because of what he has said right in the issue. Because he has said, if I have heard him correct, in 2013, they decided to agree to the outcome or to the whole outcome because they thought that the country is larger than Raila Odinga. But this time they won't accept. And to me, I thought 2013, the matter was taken to court and there was a court decision. So the presumption when he says they won't accept as they did in 2013 is they will not go to court, will not resort to taking the matter in court. And if you don't resort to court, then
that's a lawyer
going to fight. So there's no doubt this guy is saying they won't go to Supreme Court, they are going to fight, and therefore arrest him.
All right, let's hear from Arati.
That's his own thinking.
And also answer question to Matigani.
Matigani, I want to put a record straight. And I want to put it straight that I have not said that we're not going to accept if we lose. Of course, if we lose fairly, on that we've lost simply because the Kenyans have said Uhuru requires the second term, we will accept the results. The only thing I'm insisting, we cannot accept any rigged election.
Okay,
we can't.
I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, I think on this doctor strike, there is a Luo gospel song where somebody is saying Jesus Christ should come with a nyawu. You know nyawu? You see these MPs, these ones, they represent the people who are dying in hospitals because of because of the strike. They have failed to take any action. Call in to do reallocation. Instead, they are busy sparing money for themselves to be paid for work they have not done. Then they come here and say, blame Uhuru, blame the doctors, blame who? You take the blame first for failing your electorate. Secondly, the doctors also. One thing I found very interesting, when teachers went on strike, they would run around in the streets, but later they would teach the candidates. When the strike was over, things were not. The doctors abandoned sick people on oxygen. For that, they can't be forgiven. But there is something also Atwoli said, that there is a push and pull between the Cabinet Secretary Mailu and the PS. And that seems to be causing a problem. That is where the MPs, whether they are in court or Jubilee, should have come in and say, Your Excellency, we want to help you. And then also the president should look into that. If somebody is becoming difficult, let him be dealt with. then the doctors should also calm down. I saw the young doctors say they are very highly educated, they are very brilliant, and so on and so forth. I don't know whether they are the ones who have introduced brilliance. They should also calm down, negotiate, and listen to the likes of Atwoli who have been in trade union for very long. Finally, for us.
Where us is Jubilee?
No, the country.
Oh, the country, okay.
When it comes to issues of health, issues of sickness, there is no Jubilee, there is no Code, there is no Kikuyu, there is no Luo. Sickness can come anytime. Let us handle the issue of doctors a bit soberly. We give them money, but not the too much they are demanding. I would therefore urge my colleagues at the bench, the judge, it would be wrong to lock them in today. It would complicate the issue. Put that locking in as a sword of Damocles on their neck to enable them come to the table to negotiate. But it would be wrong to lock them in. And I say that should not happen.
Excuse me, I don't know, you're arguing like you're a layman and you're a lawyer. You are aware of a rule. You are aware of a subjudice rule, which is very clear that whenever we have a matter that is in court, Parliament has no legal power to debate it. In fact, it's provided for in our standing orders. So therefore, to blame members of Parliament
allocating money, more money,
redoing
the budget, to allow the ministers to have excess money to negotiate.
No. That is a proposal. That is a proposal.
I want to agree with Wakili.
Okay, let me hear.
I want to agree to Wakili to some extent because Parliament indeed is the one which does the issues of budgeting in this country. But then you see what happens is that is our responsibility as parliamentarians indeed to do look into and advise properly the executive on how this money must be spent. Money actually, which is it's us who are allocating. To some extent, yes, we are supposed, Wakili was putting it that we are allocating some money for ourselves. It's bad manners all over. If it was a project where it's 8 billion, because they're asking for 8 billion, right now it could have been approved through the conveying belt of Parliament to the executive because some people, they want to eat money outside there. It could have been done.
So why is it not done?
Therefore, this one is simply because money is going to go to the
election. So you accept that members of Parliament have indeed failed, you being one of them.
This should come with Nyaunyo. Every time parliamentarian, Nyaunyo.
No, you see, let me say this point. When you have situations, people in power, using that power to get something, to me, is very bad. So when you have a situation where members of Parliament use their legal power to push the exchequer for more money, to me is wrong. Okay. In the same manner, I'm also objecting with doctors using their power to abandon patients, and those patients die, probably to get something. To me, is also morally wrong.
All right, we need to wind up briefly, but let me bring in Michelle Ngele, who's been monitoring what you have to say on Twitter. Michelle?
All right, and Michael, with regard to this conversation on the crisis in the health sector, we have Gray Mara here saying, so it's the government that is not committed to solving the impasse, but they are more concerned about votes. And then Gray Mara also said, as Brother Atwoli said, it is time the president cleaned up the mess at Afya House first before the negotiations are done. He also says we want an end to the strike. He is a doctor, I believe, but the infighting at the Ministry of Health says won't let it happen. And so the question that we had asked earlier is, of course, with regard to the registration exercise, do you think the voter registration exercise should be extended? Michael, I believe you have the results for that.
Yes, we have the results coming in now, and 33% of you say yes, the voter registration exercise should be extended. 50% have said no, and 17% say I don't care. So I think we'll have to wind it up right there. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Irungu Kangata, who's Member of Parliament for Keha.